Damn, I feel like Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours when Nick Nolte picked him up when he was riding in Nick Nolte's Cadillac. He was like, man, this shit look bad. Like, you gonna mess up my reputation out here. That intro music, that's really not my thing. But I haven't locked into some new intro music. Keep getting these emails about copyright claims and whatnot. So I'm working on it. But that right there, that's not a representation of the Pay Me No Mind show. Look, today's show is gonna be this episode right here is gonna be all over the place intentionally. But I got some snippets that I'm gonna get into with Stephen A. Smith. He kind of made the rounds this week with his views and got over into the boxing space. We're gonna talk some boxing, might touch on this Deontay Wilder situation, whatever it is. At the crux of this, though, we're just gonna have to, for me, just gonna have to be comfortable not being with the group, with the herd. I'm gonna have to stand my ground the way that others stand their ground, whether their facts are solid, whether there's any logic, whether there's any reason, whether there's a lot of inconsistency there. It's a lot of people that talk this shit and it's messy, doesn't even make sense. And they talk this shit like they're on point. And that's cool. Everything is not for everybody. So I'm gonna get into some of this. This audio. I'm probably gonna get into some Claressa Shields audio. I'm gonna get into some Stephen A. Smith cuts. I got a dope cut on here from Larry Wilmore that black people need to hear. What's up, D Branch? I see the new. I thought you was waiting until after the Super Bowl, man. But these cuts that I'm gonna play from Stephen A. Smith, black people got to hear them. You can call the man a coon, a sellout, whatever you want, but just because you saying it doesn't mean he's wrong. Doesn't mean he's wrong on everything. But this Larry Wilmore piece is pretty dope. And then I got a Jessica McCaskill cut that I'm gonna get into. And you know, let the cards fall where they may, or whatever the saying is. The first one that I want to get out there is I said one thing in 2021. I'm gonna start listening to some different stuff. And it might not be black shit, might not be from black sources. But I'm gonna expand my horizons and what I'm taking in, what I'm accepting, what I'm gonna investigate, what I'm gonna consider. And you know, I'm gonna do me. People, this black shit that you encounter on YouTube, man, it's some goofy shit. Some goofy shit. A lot of us are not on it. It's levels to this shit. It's levels to you as an individual. It's levels to you as a black person. It's levels to this shit. Another thing, everybody can't thrive solely with messing with the black community and pleasing black people and fitting in with black people. Everybody can't live there and eat. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. I don't fuck with ignorance though. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can tell this is like not a language. You know, I'm not being mindful of my language here, but I don't fuck with it with ignorance. I didn't got too old to align myself with ignorant people. And I ain't even talking about I'm not even talking about like people who have accomplished a great deal and you should be believing what they're saying. Like I'm talking about, perfect example, 2004, 2005, maybe, definitely by 2006. I was stuck in my role and wanted to do more, wanted to do better, encountered some resistance. had to break down and go back to go to school, get a degree, go in debt just to be able to go where I should be able to go. But you got to play the game. And as I was going back to school, man, this is after being in the Navy for 4 years and then being coming back home and trying to figure things out for a year and a half, and then recognizing that I got to go back to school because don't nobody give a damn about that naval background. None of that shit translated. And so I started going back to school, taking a bunch of classes I don't really need, you know, that I didn't really see the need in. But the barbershop. In 2004, 2005, man, I had to quit listening to any shit that was said in the barbershop. I'm sorry, but everybody doesn't carry a good word with them. And you can sit there and waste time trying to make sense of some of that shit. You can try to educate others, inform others. You can try to kowtow to people. You can try to point out, you know, well, most of what you said was right, but this critical part, you can fuck that. I just started going in there with my headset and ignoring people, man. Like, we ain't all gonna make it. We ain't all gonna be liked by everybody. Every relationship is not beneficial to you. And you just got to be willing to go your way. So I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna play this Stephen A. cut, basically reiterating what I've been stating. And let me figure this shit out real quick. Where did I have this one saved? This is Larry Wilmore. He might not be a brother who we all gather around and Wilmore's the man, or we all follow and we all rock with Larry Wilmore. Larry Wilmore does his thing in his space. I can't take nothing away from the man. But he has a podcast called Black on the Air. And he had Stephen A. Smith on there this week, I believe. That's the last one in the playlist. So I'm believing that's the most recent one. And they talked about some real shit. Whether or not you want to say that Lil Wayne's real shit, Benny the Butcher's real shit, Conway the Machine's real shit. Like, we all got real shit. They were talking about some real shit. But Stephen A.'s first statement, this shit really hit home. What is it real quick? I'm going to let you listen to it, then I'll come back.
Black community that I honestly believe needs to be more discussed. You got folks in our community more so than any other community. Mm-hmm. You can flow with us 99% of the time. That's right. You do one thing. And they can't sit up there and say, nah, Stephen A., we disagree with that. Nah, Stephen A., you wrong about that. Now it's a whole, it eradicates every positive thing that you did and literally just throws your character out the window. And it's so easy to get us to turn against us that it's become an incredibly unfortunate thing. I am a proud Black man and I love my people. I don't think for all of us. I don't try to think for all of us. What I try to do is to be somebody that's in the front lines and folks know whatever it takes, I'm ready to do what needs to be done to bring the attention to the right issues, to fight the good fight, etc.
I didn't detect any lies there. I didn't detect a single lie there. It only makes sense that if I talk to one person, we're eventually going to get around to some things that we see differently. And that's a healthy thing. That's a good thing. Now, where the issue becomes is when we get to those differences and we don't have a mature or a healthy way to sort through those differences. Just because somebody say some shit different from you doesn't mean that they're wrong completely. They're ignorant. It doesn't mean that they disrespected you. It doesn't mean that they hate your opinion. That's just what they think. Like, we don't even want to know what people think nowadays. We just so busy to talk, to share our own opinion, give our own point of view. This directly leads to the whole situation with Deontay Wilder. I talk boxing on this channel all damn year long. If it's a fight on, I'm talking about it. If it's a good fight, I'm talking about it. It's a bad fight, I might go do something else. But I came in and gave my feedback on the Deontay Wilder situation a couple of times, and from what I know, from what my experiences have shown me, I have my questions about it. I watch a lot of channels that I don't agree with 85, 90% of the stuff that they say. Because a lot of the shit, if anybody was listening with their listening ears, a lot of this shit is bullshit. It's intentionally bullshit. I sit there and I listen. I give them 3 minutes, 5 minutes to see how dumb this shit is gonna get. And then I just move on. But I said my piece on it, and I'm a sellout. I'm a coon. I don't know this. I don't consider this. I didn't consider that. And it's like the 2 or 3 dudes or the 4 or 5 dudes who are leading the discussion on the other side of the fence. Yeah, they were emotional. They spoke aggressively. They used a bunch of profanity and cussed a bunch of viewers and people in the live chat out. They said a bunch of stuff, but it really wasn't any substance to any of that. I'm sitting here now, and I'm gonna get to this second cut in just a minute, but I'm sitting here now, and every other day something in the feed comes up with somebody talking about a new video, a new interview, quote unquote, a new interrogation. Never no new information. Still no new information. And I even talked to a partner that does this stuff, and he said the same thing. You know, I feel Deontay Wilder was cheated. How are we a year past that and we still talking about feelings? Like, give me the proof, man. I just want the proof. And I don't care if Mark Breland went on the Fearing Cats, whatever, yesterday and said some more stuff. It still was no new proof. It was still no new evidence. It's just another person talking. Now, he's at the center of it, but we didn't hear nothing new. I saw some people getting some good super chats, though, yesterday, overreacting to what Mark Breland had to say. So it's good money in that shit. It's profitable, but I'm still waiting on some facts. And I'm gonna tell you one thing that I struggle with as I get ready to get this next cut on. One thing that I struggle with is I do agree that some stuff went down in the first fight that I couldn't explain. I give you that. But what I'm tripping off of, these fights are getting aired once a month at least. I'm seeing this shit on TV once a month. If a group of individuals colluded together or conspired to pull this off, why is that fight playing all the time? Who comes back and who gets over and then comes back and plays the shit and dangles it in your face week after week after week? Like, if you got over, you would just go on with your business and be done with it and let sleeping dogs lie. Who would just come back and show their ass in your face weekly by broadcasting something that was some flagrant cheating or something? I don't get that. Another thing why I really don't even give a damn about the whole, I'm still trying to wait and see if there's any fire to all of this smoke, but I think I already know the answer to it. But why Canelo shit was addressed, went through the process immediately, and this man is working on his second fight. Deontay Wilder, his brother is out here in limbo. Don't have a pot to piss in. If his position or his stance or his case was so ironclad, why are you sitting here in limbo? I pointed out something from the Chris Mannix article a couple of weeks ago that told you out of Shelly Finkel's mouth. He told you that their shit was bullshit. Didn't nobody care. Damn, this community, we just don't give a shit. We just hear what we want to hear. Like big, what was his name? Tall Charles in The Wire? Or big Tall Charles, Slim Charles, the dude with the braids, one of the goons for Barksdale. But he said, if we go to war on that lie, we go to war on that lie. We got a bunch of Slim Charles or Tall Charles over here on YouTube. We just gonna go to war on that lie. No matter if the shit carry water or not. We just gonna go to war and stay at war. Some funny people. This next cut is it's more truth. It's another gem from Stephen A. I'm gonna play it and then come back and riff on it real quick.
There are so many folks in our community, in fairness to them, that have been suffering for so long that anybody that comes across as remotely desensitized or oblivious to the trials and tribulations we suffer as a community, it's an excuse to completely erase them.
I had to take that lesson. I had to listen to that and take that in. People got to use some discernment and understand the individuals who are saying shit to you and why they're saying shit to you. And why they always say the same shit to you, no matter what the situation is, they circle back to the same thing all the time. We got a lot of people in the community, in all communities. We got a lot of people out here that are very frustrated. For one reason or another, shit hasn't worked out. Shit isn't going well. Shit never got off the ground. And I understand this preceded me getting into talking about boxing and covering boxing. I didn't, this is just some shit I heard in some scuttlebutt. But I guess before shit became acronyms and groups and groupings and whatnot, I guess it was just a overall boxing community. And Black boxing fans were a part of that. This is what I've been able to piece together. And they noticed that whether it was online, Black fighters were being slighted and, discriminated, torn down and whatnot. And then also by boxing media, they, it was the same thing. They were being slighted, double standards, snide comments and all that type of stuff happening. Okay. So then I guess things broke up. People went their way and set up these different ecosystems, if you will, and we're like, we're just gonna stand over here and talk our talk and reject anything from the outside of that. Okay. Doesn't mean that you can spend time in either one of those ecosystems. Doesn't mean that either one is right or more right than the other. And as a matter of fact, because some of these cats, some people have been bruised so badly in following this shit and trying to be a fan to this sport. Now they just permanently injured. And now everything that gets said is slanted or biased. And I'm just like, man, I just wanted to know who was going to win the fight, man. This other shit, I don't care about that shit. It's relation. I mean, it's matchups out there that, as a lot of times in boxing, most of these fights in boxing are 70-30. You know who's going to win. Most of these fights are 70-30. You'll get to a 70-30 fight where the Black fighter is the 30, and it'll be a brother telling you that that the brother's gonna win that fight. Got to walk away from the conversation. Got to walk away from the conversation. I said earlier this week, I fell out my chair, man. One of the biggest mouths in the situation came up with his brilliant assertion that Anthony Joshua was poisoned against Andy Ruiz. I'm like, man, this shit got to stop, man. This shit got to stop. You just, whatever thought comes into your mind, whether it makes any sense or not, you just run with it. Oh, that's what we doing. Come up later in the week, more revisionist history. Adrian Broner was cheated against Maidana. Okay, bro, that's okay. Maybe. I didn't listen to the reasoning. I just had a question though. Cause now, you know, Glovegate is leading the way in everything in boxing. So, you know, now you just go back and Broner was cheated because he said that's the hardest he's ever been hit by Maidana. Fast forward, we see that Floyd Mayweather or Leonard Ellerbe told Maidana ahead of their fight, you can't use these gloves. Somebody out there picks up on this and says, oh, see, they was trying to bullshit here, but they got caught. And that's what happened with Broner. He had some illegal gloves on. We could talk about, you know, the different types of padding or the different types of materials that are inside of gloves. We know that there's horsehair gloves. People don't like details, so we'll skip that. But my thing is this. Maidana rocked Floyd with the gloves that Floyd approved. So he has a good he has a good punch on him. Ahead of the Mayweather fight. Well, damn, I might have had my facts messed up right there. But they're up at, I thought that one was up at 147. And I want to say that was his first. He skipped 140. Came up to but I'm a little confused. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little confused on where the Paulie fight was and the Maidana fight. But I thought it was Maidana who he came up against first. Skipped super lightweight. Going there against this dude who's a bigger man, and you catch a good punch. Early in the fight, he was dancing around, bullshitting, and Maidana came at him. He stepped to him and hurt him. So how was it that inconceivable that Maidana can just punch when he rocked Floyd Mayweather, who has one of the best chins in recent boxing, maybe even in boxing history? He definitely knew how to survive once he was hurt. You saw that against Mosley. But how do you just go and just say that the man was cheating just because Adrian Broner says that's the hardest I've ever been hit? Maybe that's the hardest puncher he's ever faced. But let me get to this second cut with Stephen A. Smith. My last cut with Stephen A. Smith, because this is the one that set everything off. And I made a video about it early in the week that, like, now we just can't even hear nobody's. We can't even listen to anybody's opinion. All of these podcasts, all of these YouTube channels, all of these radio shows, TV shows, everybody giving their opinion all across the world, but nobody is allowed to give their own personal opinion on shit. And in the process, even state, that's just me. That's just how I feel. That's just my belief. So he was on the Black on the Air, and he got around to talking about women in sports. And he said that he wasn't a fan of women in combat sports. He's not a fan of watching it. Claressa Shields comes out and does a video addressing things the way that she does. And we'll come back to that in just a second. I'm gonna play some of that Claressa Shields. I just don't know how this is a bad statement for anybody.
Well, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah.
I think that there's an awful lot of women that are incredibly qualified to do the jobs that they're doing. Where I jump off the bandwagon is when they try to engage physically. Like, for example, I don't ever want to see a woman boxing a man. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a woman in the UFC fighting a man, even though, you know what, there are some women out there that'll kick a dude's butt. We get all of that.
Yes.
That much. So we understand that. But sure. I'm not. When I think about pugilistic sports, I don't like seeing women involved in that at all. I just don't like it. I'm not. I wouldn't promote legislating laws to prohibit them from doing so. But I don't want to see women punching each other in the face. I don't want to see women, fighting in the octagon and stuff like that. That's just me.
He said he wouldn't promote anybody putting together any legislation banning it or outlawing women boxing. He said it's just not me. I could sit here and tell you that that mumble rap just isn't me. I just don't care for mumble rap. I'm not sitting here saying these cats shouldn't be able, no studio in the world should let these dudes in to make their music. I'm just saying I don't care for mumble rap. Maybe I don't like river dancing. I'm not saying that the river dance company can't come to my city once a year at the local venue and do their thing. I'm not out there with a picket sign saying y'all can't come in here with that river dance shit. Then the man said, that's just me. Like, we got to understand when somebody is saying something that's really violating somebody in another way, and when somebody is just saying what their preference is. I don't like TV shows that don't have black characters in it. I don't watch them. I got a problem with when the black character in the network show, when the black character has the worst personal life. I don't like the black man always being the gay guy. The outright, the in your face gay guy. I don't like that. I'm not saying that actors shouldn't be on TV, shouldn't be able to get jobs. I'm just saying, with the shit that I saw in the shot, I said my piece about it. I wish the viewers, the director, the writers, and the rest of the cast, I wish y'all well as y'all move forward into y'all's next season. I'm going to take my viewing time elsewhere. That's all I said. That's all I said. Let me put this, let's hear Claressa Shields' reaction to this.
To men who cannot hit the pads better than me, to men who cannot punch faster than me, punch harder than me, to men who cannot beat me up, please do not tell me you don't like seeing women box in the ring, or you don't like seeing women in combat sports. What, you don't like seeing this up in combat for sports because you can't do it? Because you don't know how to fight? That's what it all.
What's that got to do with the price of tea in China? Because I can hit the bag or the speed bag. One thing that they said on here that I thought was dope, one thing that they pointed out on the Black on the Air show was that women's tennis was doing way better than men's tennis for a while. It was something else. It was another sport. Damn, it was another. I know they said women's gymnastics. We obviously know why that is. The women's the national team, the women's national team in soccer. Their popularity was towering the men's popularity. Stephen A went on to say that, and for the alpha male people out there, when Wilmore asked, I don't know, bro. I done emailed her a few times, haven't been able to speak to her. I know she has the Mark Taffet guy that came over from HBO that's like her business partner and whatnot. Hey, I was gonna try to steer the conversation in a certain way, but can't get a response on that. So let me play this other clip of where Jessica McCaskill. Shields is the current undisputed middleweight champion. Getting ready to, on March 5th, she'll be fighting for the undisputed 154-pound belt. Jessica McCaskill, is the current welterweight undisputed champion, who has a rematch coming up with Cecilia Braekhus on March 13th, I believe, on the undercard of Juan Francisco Estrada and Chocolatito. Here's how here's the energy that McCaskill gave to it. And she was on the Akin Barak show this week. Make sure I got the right one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when people have, like a negative connotation towards female boxing, I just let them have their thought and keep it rolling, and try to just make sure I maintain my focus on people who are really proactive in the sport and trying to push the sport. Like, I don't know anything about like half of like the Olympic sport, archery, but I probably wouldn't even watch it, but I'm not gonna say something to have a negative impact on it. So, I don't really
Did it offend
exercise,
you in any way?
Saying my piece about other people's stuff. So if he doesn't do it and he doesn't watch it, then don't do it, don't watch it.
But this,
You can control, the only thing that you can control with anybody's opinion is how you respond to it. That's all you can do. Again, if Stephen A was on there talking about he's forming a group to formally or officially oppose ongoing women's boxing, and he's submitting legislation and all that, if he went that route and said that he was reaching out to networks to block that, if he went on there talking that's something completely different. That's something completely different. Akin Barak asked her a follow-up question about whether or not she was offended by, they read Stephen A. They read his words to her. I think that was kind of foul because you don't get the context in what was said. And they got more resources than me. They could have just got the audio to her and let her hear it. But here's what McCaskill said in response to whether or not she was offended by what Stephen A. Smith had to say about women's combat sports.
No, I don't really care. I don't really take offense very easily, and I really try to focus on a lot of positive stuff. If I were to dwell on what he's saying and then try to defend it like hardcore, my defense is just doing what I'm doing and making history and bettering the world as much as I possibly can.
I mean, it's two ways, it's more than one way to skin a cat. That's her position on it. Claressa Shields felt like she had to get personal about, can you fight back? Now, another thing that I wanted to mention about Akin Barak, where I think I wouldn't say they were foul, but again, they got 15 hours a week that they got to put on the radio, that they got to fill airtime, 15 hours a week. And everything when you talk that much, it's going to be some stuff that doesn't always play out that well. But last year, and they regularly have Claressa Shields on, but last year when she was on, they were adamant about the fact that there are men that Claressa Shields could beat, that she could fight. And it wasn't nobody's. It was like she said that she wanted to fight Keith Thurman. Akin Barak, they went right along with it. Didn't even question her. I think she even said Triple G. She said she could see herself, her boxing skills, her quickness, such and such, her footwork, her reflexes. She was like, I like that fight. Akin Barak didn't say nothing. So that's what I'm saying. When you want to get involved with the conversation, but then you don't want to challenge somebody because you want them to come back on your show. And now I'm with Stephen A right there. Like, you sitting here, by going down that road with the discussion, you're somewhat endorsing, I want to see men and women fighting. I don't want to see that, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of what's going on right now with some of the high school, the transgender stuff being allowed to wrestle and run track, against, I don't even know the phrase or the terminology of that shit, but kids that were born male getting up to be 17 and 18 and competing against females as a female now. I don't know what world that shit is right in, but nah, I don't even know how anybody could allow that to happen. But that's the world that we live in. The Larry Wilmore clip. I just think this is another good word because you might have a channel out here. I know I talked to a few other cats on the side, and you got to make up your mind what you're gonna do, how you're gonna go about your thing. The numbers might not be there. The subscribers might not be there. The plays might not be there. And the thing is, man, all of that shit affects, you might have long-term goals with your platform. You might have certain individuals you want to interview and get. Like I said, I love to talk to Claressa Shields. Because the interesting thing with her, with this fight coming up on March 5th, I'm a huge fan of the fight. I'm a huge fan that she went out on her own, and this is going to be on pay-per-view. One of the things that she says in public is, pay me what the men get paid. Pay me like the men get paid. But all we got to do is look at this situation and see where her argument is a little weak, because your pay-per-view the price point of your pay-per-view is not where a men's card is. The men's card is typically $75 now. I think it's $74.99 is kind of the average now for most of these cards. Her card on March 5th is going to be $29.95. That didn't happen as a mistake. Like I said, I salute her and her business team for going out here and making it happen, because Showtime wasn't willing to, as far as I can tell, Showtime, and what's going on right now, they didn't feel compelled to give her a date to allow her to fight. So she went out on her own. That's good. That's good business. But the fact is, when she went to the broadcast people, whoever was going to stream it or broadcast it, they know what they know. We don't care what you think you should get paid. We don't care how you feel you should get paid. The truth of the matter is, we got to do this down here at $29.95 if you want to get anything out of this. If you want to be up at $75 for the pay-per-view, thank you for coming in, or thank you for having a meeting, but we'll talk to you later. It's really that simple. And I'm rooting for her. I'm hoping, because $29.95 at if she can get 120,000 buys, $29.95 if she could do 300,000. And that's a big if, but if she could do it, that would be way more beneficial to her than taking the deal from a Showtime deal and fighting on their under their circumstances. So I salute her for betting on herself. I'm about to fight. It's priced right. I'm hoping, I was reaching out to her because I wanted to know, I know Raquel Miller is going to be on there, Pretty Beast from the Bay Area. This Danielle Perkins, this heavyweight, I think she trains out of Texas. I think she's only in her third fight, though. She's scheduled to be on there. And then I think there's I don't know if she trains under Floyd. Big Floyd might be a fighter of his that's going to be on there. I also saw heavyweight Jermaine Franklin is supposed to fight on there. And that's dope, man. I mean, if you're doing enough to where you can bring others along with you and feed others, allow others to eat based on what you're doing, I applaud Claressa Shields. But again, the price point of this thing ends the argument about I want to get now. It also does this. Say you do get 300,000 buys, anywhere from 150 to 300,000 buys. It's a chance to go with those numbers. If you over deliver, if the buys overperform, then it's a chance to go back and negotiate something better, something more favorable. So do your thing. But here's this cut from Larry Wilmore for content creators out there. Because I talked to a number of different guys who go about it in a lot of different ways. Again, this isn't one size fits all, and a lot of us can't go out here and be fake. I do me and do my thing a hell of a lot better than trying to get on here like some of the other channels out here that talk boxing. I can't compete in that realm. I'm not gonna waste my time doing that. But here's what Larry Wilmore, here's what a comment that he made in response to what Stephen A. Smith was talking about.
A lot of it has to do with when people feel like they've been oppressed and that type of thing. Within the group, they look for consensus more than truth. If truth gets in the same Venn diagram as consensus, that's great. But many times consensus becomes more important. And what I've liked about you, and I've done in my own work, is I want to keep it 100% real first and then worry about consensus later, you know?
I got to speak the truth that I see, that I know. I don't give a damn about being in a larger group and I'm sitting here listening to somebody that's saying some sketchy shit, some shit that doesn't add up. Funny thing is, I was like, let me play this. Let me get involved. And I saw a couple of people making some comments here and there. And I'm like, let me respond with how I see it and the burden of proof that I have and the detail and the facts that I'm looking, the concrete, the credible shit that I'm looking for. Let me point that out to you and see if we can talk, if we can go back and forth. I ain't even get a response from none of these cats. Now, if I'd have went on there and cussed somebody out in 3 or 4 words, or 4 words, somebody would have clapped back at me and said something. But because you try to point out my version of real shit, man, if I ain't even bother, I'm not even bothering talking to this cat. So I've kind of taken that stance lately, and I hate to. It's not really dry snitching or it's not really throwing shots at cats on the slide or being passive aggressive. But I just don't see the reason to go in some of these on some of these channels and waste my opinions over there, and just come back and do my own video or whatever, and just do it that way. Because if you're not gonna build, if we're not gonna chop it up, if you're not gonna build with me, then why did I waste my 3 minutes, my 5 minutes over here talking on your platform, asking a legitimate question, and months go by, I never hear nothing back. So one thing that's pissed, along with the whole Broner situation, getting back to him quickly, I said this before, like, I know I write about boxing, cover boxing, break down fights and shit, and what, so on and so forth. But for a lot of these cats, man, I don't want to be your matchmaker. I don't want to run your training camp. I don't want to work on your schedule for the whole year. I don't want to be your dietitian or worry about you making weight for your fight. I don't want to negotiate what your purse split is. I don't want to do all of that other stuff. I don't get paid from any of that. I don't get paid from being online talking about none of that. I don't make any money in who you fight, when you fight them, where you fight them, what weight. I don't want to be all of that. I want to be a fan of the sport. I want to see a good fight. And then I happen to write up fights at bitedownboxing.com. I want to call into the I call into the Zoom conferences or the international media calls. I call in and if I get selected, I ask my question. But the rest of that shit, I don't want to engage in all of that. I don't want to babysit nobody. But I'm hearing all of this additional shit around Adrian Broner. He should be given this. This should happen for him. He should get that. How does that happen? Like, one dope thing about boxing is that You can work as much as you want to work each year. You have a chance to negotiate what you want to get paid for each fight. You can choose what opponent you want to select and do the whole risk reward analysis and make it worth your while. The rest of these guys, they locked in. LeBron got to go play in the All-Star game that he said he that he thought he was going to have a week off or whatever. You play in Buffalo and it's 5 below. Green Bay, you play in Green Bay and it's 3 below or 0 degrees. Your ass got to go to work that day. You can't sit there and let the second string dude step up for you. You got to go to work. Broner hasn't given a damn about his career for quite a while. Why would I sit here and try to convince you to support Broner? I'm happy that Broner has a fight. I want to see all fighters get paid. I want to see all fighters have the opportunity to eat. Whether Broner is in debt, whether whatever his situation is, I don't care about none of that. I look at your opponent, Giovanni Santiago or whatever. Not a fight I really, not an opponent I really care about. I understand the circumstances though. You haven't fought in over a year and a half or longer. Haven't won a fight in 5 years or something. Again, none of this shit is nothing that I control. I just want to tune in and see a good fight. I don't want to tune in to see you win per se. If you are fighting somebody who I don't really like that other fighter as much, then I might be rooting for you. But cats get out here, quote unquote, reporting on shit, and it's just wanting to tell you who their favorite fighter is and why they rock with them unconditionally. Okay, I understand you. But just not to have any expectations for the man, like, we know that the 140-pound belt's on the other side of the street. So you get this Santiago fight in, what's next? We can't even ask that. He's just supposed to be able to make up some matchup that's important to him, and we just got to take it and go along with it. Okay. That's what we doing now. I think that was about all I had to get through today. Thanks for the people that tuned in. Was it one more thing I had to play? McCaskill, Stephen A. Wilmore, Claressa Shields over here. I'm gonna go ahead and email her again and see, because I really, like I said, you have a fight coming up. I want to see it do well. It'd be good to get you, make the rounds and there's other places to go besides the Akin Barak show. Not everybody has Sirius XM radio. Not everybody subscribes to that. There are some bigger channels out there that she can go on. She could do that. I got a certain way of approaching it that I think it'd be beneficial to talk about those things. But that's me being biased for me, I guess, obviously. But we'll see what happens. I mean, she is busy. What do they got? A little under 4 weeks to go before the fight and whatnot. So we'll see. Do me a favor, check out my audio only podcast. It's Always Personal, that's available on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. That's where I talk about more stuff than just sports and entertainment. But it's a mix. It's a lifestyle podcast, basically. Pause. It's not a lifestyle prophylactic. It's a lifestyle podcast. What else did I want to say? Next week, pretty dope card coming up, in my opinion. Miguel Burchelt and Oscar Valdez over on ESPN. Probably some action on ESPN Plus. A lot of good up and coming fighters on the undercard. I believe Xander Zayas is on there. He's only like 3-0 or 4-0 and whatnot. Youngest cat to ever sign a deal with Top Rank, based out of I think he's Puerto Rican, but based out of Florida. He's actually incidentally, he was down in camp with Adrian Broner and Robert Easter Jr. and Gervonta Davis, and he's been working out with those guys regularly. Has some promising things to say about that experience. Again, man, I'm not gonna sit here and really bash Broner as an individual. I will say I was listening to a show on Sirius XM 2 weeks ago, and they had the manager of Xander Zayas on there, and the host of the radio show. I heard him say it on 2 different episodes. This is the cat, Randy Gordon, during the last fight with Broner and Manny Pacquiao. Randy Gordon was one of the people at the press conference and asked Broner something about, you know, if he lost the fight, do you think this could be the end of your career or could be difficult for you moving forward? And Broner said some real, you know, he gave him some raw shit and, you know, embarrassed him in front of everybody and spoke very nasty in a very nasty manner to the man. And so when Xander Zayas' manager, I think his name is Peter Kahn, was on the show last week, he actually, at the end of the interview, he actually told Kahn, what is Xander Zayas doing taking pictures with Adrian Broner on Instagram? Why is he hanging out with him? Why is he training with him? And that's the type of shit that you get from the old media and from the mainstream media and, you know, kind of the bigger platforms, if you will. That's the kind of shit that bothers me. You know, you got a problem with a man because you don't connect with the man on any way, or you don't, you have a bad rapport with Adrian Broner. So now you waste time on your radio show to tell a younger fighter to not train with another guy because you don't like him. And actually, he did the same thing when Xander Zayas was on the show. He asked him then, what are you doing hanging around with Adrian Broner? Now, I've always heard that Broner, and I've seen it in action. I've been down to the gym in Cincinnati when he was getting ready for the fight against Adrian Granados. You know, it's a dozen or more fighters in there. And it's work. It was Randy Gordon from the At the Fight show on Monday and Friday night on Sirius XM's Fight Nation from 6 to 8. They have the At the Fight show. I spoke on them before. It's Randy Gordon and Jerry Cooney. And prior to Akin Barak, with DAZN setting them up with their daily show, their 3-hour show, every day at noon, starting at noon. Prior to that, it was just the Monday night and the Friday night show with Gordon and Cooney. And it was what it was. But to sit there and attack Broner in that manner, you know, that's off-putting for me. And I really, ever since Akin Barak came on, I really quit listening to the Monday and Friday night show unless they have a guest on that I really want to hear from. And again, that's what I was saying earlier. What started a lot at the beginning of this, that's what started a lot of this was it was a valid beef. It was a valid grievance. You have some of these guys out here, I won't say their names. You know who they are. Some of the dudes over at Ring Magazine and whatnot. Some of the cats at Boxing Scene. They have certain issues with fighters, black fighters in particular. And some of it's trash. Again, though, that's not that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that doesn't mean that you go start your own thing and equally be trash. How does that win? How does that work? Now you can hold people accountable, you can hold people's feet to the fire and whatnot, but just to go do the same shit that they do, but just against the opposite group, how does that solve anything? How does that improve anything? How does that fix anything? How does that make anything better? And then to lie and twist stuff up. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what I noticed with the Strike 7. I noticed when I'm in some of the on some of the Zoom calls and some of the post-fight interview stuff that's happened over the last year, and some of the media calls that they have, Dan Rayfield's not in there anymore. Chris Mannix isn't on those calls anymore. None of the guys at Ring TV or ringtv.com, none of those guys are in the call. I get a chance to ask some questions. It's one tomorrow, but I'm not going to call into that one. But for the Joe Smith and Vlasov or whatever, Maxim Vlasov, whatever, I ain't bothering with that. But now, in their defense, some of them can get one-on-one interviews with some of these fighters, and they do it that way. I'll see the article. I will see some articles pop up on Fight Week that they are, they are covering the sport. They are covering all fighters. I do see that. And sometimes it's one-on-one interviews. I give them that. Maybe that's a better use of their time. But I'm just saying, I noticed after the super bantamweight card a couple weeks ago that I was big on my interest in that fight. Not that I whatever, but I had a lot of interest in that fight for certain reasons. But Keith Idek, he was there at the place, at the location in Uncasville, Connecticut. But then it was just a lot of internet guys on the call. And I'm like, damn, no Jake Donovan, no this dude, no that dude. It was a bunch of internet guys that when I did get to go to fights, the dudes that I got to sit around, it was several of them. Or it's just dudes who have podcasts, and I'm a little familiar with the name of their podcast or whatever. But I just don't know how you cover a sport and you don't participate in those types of media availabilities to really cover the sport. But it is what it is. But it's clearly you clearly can see who's supporting who's putting energy into whose product, whose fights. It is noticeable. But it works for me though. Because like I said, I get in and I get to ask my questions most times. And last year or prior to 2020, it was very hit and miss. If I could get selected, to answer my question, it was hit and miss. And damn near on the big fights, it was just a wrap. Period. A couple of months ago, what was that big fight? It wasn't all that big, but it's a dude that it's a dude at ESPN Boxing. He's from Michigan, actually. Kind of done some things. I was at a Claressa Shields fight with him in the Media Row area, and he went on to cover like Utah Jazz basketball for ESPN, and now he also does ESPN Boxing. But his last name is Woodburn or Woodyard. My last name is Woodson, and the top ranked dude clicked me in for the first question to Edgar Berlanga, and I guess he just saw Wood and clicked me. And so I'm like, damn, I get to be the first dude to get it. Because sometimes when you have your questions, if you're the fourth or fifth person to be selected, that's not wanting to pat myself on the back. It's a reason. if you get selected 4th, 5th, or 6th to ask your question, somebody else might have taken your questions already. And then you got to scramble to ask something and not make an ass of yourself or not waste your, your mic time and whatnot. So with me getting selected first, I was like, oh shit, I can ask whatever. I got 5 questions here that I can get off. And dude answered my first question, and I had a follow-up question on that. And I went to go answer it, and dude realized, obviously he saw me on the screen, and because Top Rank and ESPN, they have that relationship. He realized I wasn't the guy, the wood that he thought he selected. So he muted me, kicked me off, and went to the wood yard or wood burn guy. And it really pissed me off because you let me start with my question, and now I can't get my follow-up question, which would have made, because it was Edgar Berlanga. It's not a lot of boxing stuff to ask him at this point. And so I asked a question kind of away from the ring, and it looks stupid if you take it in that context. But with my follow-up question, you would have understood why my question was what it was. So the shit just made me look stupid, or one of the fanboys that get in there sometimes and go with their stuff. But it happens. Anyway, let me get on off of here, man. Thanks for rocking with me. Let me go back to this Nick Nolte Cadillac. Appreciate y'all for checking in, man. Like I said, part of my thoughts were you're just gonna have to do this stuff the way that you want to do it. Stand your ground. Present things in the way that you need to present them. And don't compromise your integrity for to be in a larger group. Just might have to be that way. But the most important thing is for you to fight your fight. And so long as you're not completely wrong, so long as you're not intentionally misleading others, you got to do what you got to do. And it just might not be popular. But my 5 people in the chat right now, man, y'all are, hey, thanks 1,000. Hopefully y'all can hit that like button for me. Hopefully something on here made sense or was of some value or interesting perspective. Like I said, that Wilmore thing about consensus versus truth, I think that's a pretty dope word for everybody. But let me get on off of here, man. Like I always say on Pay Me No Mind, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. 1. I take Kansas City today. I'm gonna take Kansas City by at least 6. And I would imagine Brady doesn't have a repeat performance with the 3 interceptions or whatever. And obviously he hasn't hit that wall the way that Drew Brees hit the wall down the stretch. He has a good or an excellent wide receiver with Mike Evans. We'll see what AB can do today. I haven't heard whether or not he's in or out. But I just think, man, Kansas City can use one play the entire game and put up a lot of points. And I forgot all about the first meeting between these teams where the Cheetah Cat Hill had over 200 yards of receiving in the first quarter. So I would definitely expect that not to happen today. I wouldn't bet on that. But I just think the team is a little too high powered, and it's hard to go against Mahomes and just the chemistry, the team chemistry that they have and whatnot. Although I would say that the Buccaneers had the edge on the defensive side of the ball. I just don't think they can keep up with them in scoring though. So I'm gonna lean towards the Kansas City Chiefs. So let me get on off of here. Peace.